It's been more than 2 decades since an American man last lifted a Grand Slam singles trophy. 2 decades of watching Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic dominate. 2 decades of what happened to American tennis. 2 decades of waiting. But something's changed. Walk into any tournament right now and you'll see something we haven't seen in years. American flags in the top 20. Multiple American flags. And leading that charge is a 23-year-old from Florida who plays tennis like he's got nothing to lose. Because he doesn't. This is the story of Ben Shelton and the new guard of American men's tennis. The question isn't just whether they can end the drought, it's whether they're built differently enough to do what the generation before them couldn't. September 7th, 2003. Arthur Ashe Stadium. A young American with a rocket serve and an even bigger personality defeats Juan Carlos Ferrero in straight sets. Andy Roddick had just won the US Open, and at 21 years old, he looked like the future of American tennis. Nobody watching that night could have imagined it would be the last time an American man would win a major for over 2 decades. Nobody could have predicted what came next. The greatest generation in tennis history: Federer, Nadal, Djokovic. The big three didn't just dominate tennis, they owned it. From the mid-2000s through the early 2020s, they won the overwhelming majority of men's Grand Slam titles. That's not dominance, that's a monopoly. Roddick himself came close again, reaching 4 more Grand Slam finals. He lost all 4, 3 of them to Federer. John Isner had the serve, but not the complete game. Sam Querrey made a Wimbledon semifinal. Jack Sock showed flashes of glory. But flashes don't win majors. And slowly, the narrative shifted. American men's tennis wasn't in a slump. It had fallen off entirely. The generation that gave us Sampras, Agassi, and Courier seemed like ancient history. The country that once dominated the sport was now an afterthought. 2010 passed, then 2015, then 2020. Still nothing. The drought became a punchline. When would an American man win another major? Would they ever? Did American men even care about tennis anymore? But here's what people missed while they were busy writing obituaries for American men's tennis. A new generation was coming, and they grew up differently. Meet the new guard. 3 Americans who quietly climbed into the top 20 and stayed there. 3 guys who grew up together in the junior circuit and decided they weren't going to be the generation that let American tennis die. First, there's Taylor Fritz, the steady hand, the guy who just kept getting better year after year until suddenly he was America's #1 player. In 2024, Fritz did something no American man had done in 15 years. He reached a Grand Slam final at the US Open. He lost to Jannik Sinner, but he proved American men belonged in those final rounds again. Fritz rose into the top 5 by the end of 2024, reaching a career high of world #4. Think about that. An American man in the top 5. That hadn't happened in over a decade. Then there's Frances Tiafoe, the showman, the son of an immigrant who grew up sleeping on massage tables at a tennis center in Maryland because his father worked maintenance there and couldn't afford anything better. Tiafoe's got the game, but more than that, he's got the charisma that American tennis has been missing. When he beat Rafael Nadal at the 2022 US Open to reach the semifinals, he didn't just win a match, he announced that American tennis had swagger again. This year, he and Tommy Paul made history by reaching the Roland Garros quarterfinals, ending a 22-year American wait in Paris. And Tommy Paul? He's the one people sleep on, which might be exactly how he likes it. No flash, no headlines, just consistently great tennis. He's methodically worked his way into the top 20 and stayed there. While everyone's watching Fritz and Tiafoe, Paul's quietly stacking wins and proving that depth is what builds a tennis powerhouse. Not just one star. These 3 have done something remarkable. They've made American men's tennis relevant again. They've shown up at big tournaments and won matches they were supposed to lose. They've pushed the top players. They've reached semifinals and finals. But here's the thing about being good. Good doesn't win Grand Slams anymore. Not when you're competing against Sinner, Alcaraz, and whoever's next. To break through, you can't just be good. You can't even just be great, you have to be fearless. Which brings us to Ben Shelton. And if you've watched him play, you know he's different. Start with the basics. That serve? He's been clocked hitting serves at about 150 miles per hour. The kind of pace where you can only guess and hope to react. Even when you guess right, you might not get it back. But the serve is just the beginning. Shelton plays tennis like he's been shot out of a cannon. Everything's at full speed. Big forehand. Aggressive returns. He's not trying to outlast you. He's trying to overpower you. And when it works, it's spectacular. Then there's the personality. That phone celebration at the 2023 US Open, where he mimicked hanging up a phone after beating his opponent. It went viral. Some people loved it. Some people hated it. But everybody talked about it. And that's the point. Tennis needs personalities. It needs players who aren't afraid to show emotion, to celebrate, to be themselves. Shelton's got that in spades. But here's what makes his story even better. His dad. Brian Shelton was a professional tennis player who reached number 55 in the world in the 90s. He later became the coach at the University of Florida. And when Ben was growing up, his dad didn't pressure him to play tennis. Ben played football as a kid. He was a linebacker. He didn't start playing tennis seriously until he was 12 years old. 12. That's ancient by modern tennis standards. Most top pros start before they can read. Shelton started when other kids were already competing nationally, and maybe that's part of what makes him different. He came to tennis late enough that he still thinks like an athlete, not just a tennis player. He plays with a football player's aggression, a football player's fearlessness, and he did something else radical. He stayed in college. While other top American juniors were turning pro at 16 or 17, Shelton went to the University of Florida and played college tennis. In 2022, he won the NCAA championship. And then, instead of staying for his senior year, he turned pro. What happened next was one of the fastest rises in modern tennis history. In his first year as a professional, Shelton reached the quarterfinals of the 2023 Australian Open. In his first Australian Open, he beat some established pros and showed the world that his game wasn't just big serves and hope. He could construct points. He could handle pressure. Then came the 2023 US Open. On his home court, in front of American crowds, Shelton went on a tear. He demolished opponents. He celebrated with the crowd. He made it to the semifinals before falling to Djokovic in a match that was closer than the scoreline suggested. He was 20 years old, and he just announced himself as the most exciting American player since roddick. The momentum continued. Shelton won his first ATP title at the Japan Open in 2023, his second at the U.S. Men's Clay Court Championships in Houston in 2024, defeating Francis Tiafoe in the final. He reached a career-high ranking of number 6 in the world in August 2025. And in 2025, he captured his first Masters 1000 title in Toronto, beating Karen Khachanov in the final and reached the semifinals of the Australian Open. At just 23 years old, he's proven he's not a flash in the pan. But here's what really makes Shelton dangerous. He plays tennis like someone who doesn't know the odds. The big three won by being perfect. They didn't beat themselves. They waited for you to make the mistake. Shelton does the opposite. He forces you to make the mistake by being so aggressive that you have to take risks just to stay in the point. Is it sustainable? Can you win 7 matches at a major playing that style? We don't know yet, but we do know this. Every generation of champions plays differently than the last. Sampras played differently than Agassi. Federer played differently than both of them. Maybe the next American champion doesn't need to play like the big three. Maybe he needs to play like Ben Shelton. So here's where we are. For the first time in over a decade, American men's tennis has depth. Fritz is top 5 in the world. Tiafoe and Paul are consistently in the top 20. Shelton's climbing fast. That's not one potential champion. That's 4 legitimate threats at any major tournament. And they're pushing each other. When Fritz reached that US Open final, it wasn't just his achievement. It was proof that an American could do it. When Tiafoe beat Nadal, it showed that Americans could beat legends. When Paul and Tiafoe made history in Paris, it proved Americans could win on clay. Historically, their weakest surface. When Shelton won Toronto, it showed he could close out big titles. But let's be honest about the challenge. The big three may be mostly gone, but they've been replaced by a new generation that's just as hungry. Jannik Sinner just won his second Grand Slam at 23. Carlos Alcaraz has 4 majors at 22. The window of opportunity between generations that some predicted, it closed almost immediately. Which is why Shelton might be exactly what American tennis needs. Fritz, Tiafoe, and Paul are excellent players. They're top 20 caliber. They'll win tournaments, they'll make deep runs at majors, but breaking through to win one, that might require someone who plays with the kind of fearless abandon that Shelton brings. Think about it this way. What beats Carlos Alcaraz or Jannik Sinner over 5 sets? Not patience, they're too good. Not consistency, they're more consistent than you. What beats them is someone taking the match out of their hands. Someone who serves so big you can't get comfortable. Someone who hits so hard that you're defending before you can attack. Someone who plays with so much aggression that the only way to beat them is to match their intensity and hope they burn out. That's Ben Shelton's game. High risk, high reward. And maybe that's exactly what it takes. Because here's what's really at stake. It's not just about winning a major, though that's the goal. It's about proving that American men's tennis can compete at the highest level again. It's about showing the next generation of American kids that tennis is a sport where they can excel. It's about reclaiming a legacy that stretches from Ashe to Connors to Sampras to Agassi to Roddick. 22 years is a long time. Long enough that kids who were born after Roddick's 2003 US Open win are now playing professional tennis themselves. Long enough that an entire generation grew up never seeing an American man win a major. Long enough that the drought has become the story. Ben Shelton's got a 150-mile-per-hour serve, a football player's mindset, and nothing to lose. He plays every match like it might be his last. He celebrates like he's playing in his backyard. He's already reached Grand Slam semifinals. He's already won a Masters 1000. He's already proven he belongs. The question isn't whether he's talented enough. The question is whether that fearless, all-or-nothing style can hold up for 7 matches against the best players in the world. But here's what we know for certain. If an American man is going to end this drought, if someone's going to stand on the court at the US Open or Wimbledon or Melbourne and finally lift that trophy after 22 years, it's going to take someone who plays like they have nothing to lose. Taylor Fritz is ready. Frances Tiafoe is ready. Tommy Paul is ready. But Ben Shelton, he might be the one who's fearless enough. The drought won't last forever. The only question is, who is going to end it? My money's on the kid with the rocket serve and the phone celebration. The one who plays every point like he's trying to prove something, because maybe that's exactly what American tennis needs. If you're new here, smash that like button and subscribe for more stories about the most exhilarating sport in the world, tennis. And let me know in the comments, who do you think will be the next American man to win a Grand Slam?